The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched impossibly high, its ancient alien architecture designed to humble even the most confident species. Glowing sigils pulsed along curved walls that seemed to defy Euclidean geometry, casting an ethereal light across the faces of delegates from hundreds of worlds. The air hummed with translation fields and the subtle vibrations of species communicating in frequencies beyond human hearing. Captain Jake Morrison stood rigid in his formal Earth Fleet uniform, eyes fixed on the central dais, where Chancellor Xirax's blue-skinned form dominated the proceedings. 50 years after humanity's admission to galactic politics, Jake still found these chambers disorienting. Next to him, Ambassador Lisa Hayes maintained her diplomatic composure, though the tightness around her eyes betrayed her unease. Admiral Rick Cooper, the third member of Earth's delegation, remained impassive, his weathered face revealing nothing of his thoughts. "The Council has deliberated." Chancellor Xirax's voice resonated through the chamber, his forearms raised in the traditional gesture of decree. "We have heard testimony from all sectors regarding the human question." Jake fought to keep his expression neutral. The human question had been debated for decades, whether Earth's rapid technological advancement and aggressive expansion posed an existential threat to galactic stability. "Humanity has demonstrated remarkable abilities," Xirax continued, his voice neither warm nor cold. "In merely 3 centuries since discovering faster-than-light travel, you have colonized 17 systems. Your adaptability is concerning." Lisa stepped forward. "Chancellor, if I may." "The time for arguments has passed. Ambassador Hayes." Xirax's secondary eyes blinked in what Jake had learned was a gesture of finality. "The vote has been cast." A holographic display materialized above the central platform, showing a tally that made Jake's stomach drop. 793 in favor. 124 opposed. "By overwhelming majority," Xirax announced, "the Council has decreed that Earth and all human colonies must withdraw beyond the boundary of 100 light-years from any Council world or protectorate. You have 50 Earth years to comply with this exile." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien voices. Lisa's shoulders slumped almost imperceptibly before she straightened again. "And if we refuse?" Admiral Cooper's voice cut through the noise, steady and dangerous. Xirax's primary eyes narrowed. "Then humanity will be designated a hostile power, and the combined fleets will enforce the decree." He paused. "I would advise against testing our resolve in this matter." Lisa stepped forward again, her voice clear despite the tension. "The Council cannot possibly believe this is just. Humanity has contributed medicines, engineering innovations, cultural exchanges, and military technologies that have destabilized 3 sectors," countered a gray-skinned Valtraxian delegate. "Your species moves too quickly, thinks too unpredictably." "We merely seek to ensure the safety of all," Xirax added, with what might have been genuine regret. 50 years is generous. Use it wisely." As Lisa continued her impassioned but futile plea, Jake caught Cooper's eye. The Admiral's gaze was hard, determined, and Jake understood the message without words. They would not wait to be told twice. The broadcast ended, and President Chen Takahashi switched off the display with a gesture that betrayed her exhaustion. The Oval Office felt claustrophobic despite its size, filled as it was with the weight of Earth's highest military and political leaders. "That was an excellent performance, Ambassador," the President said. "The dismantling of our Proxima Centauri research station looked quite convincing." Lisa Hayes nodded, her diplomatic mask finally dropping to reveal the strain beneath. The Council observers seemed satisfied. "We've established the pattern. Public compliance. Visible withdrawal." Meanwhile, Admiral Cooper activated a secure holographic display. "Operation Exodus proceeds on schedule. The display showed a rotating schematic of construction projects hidden throughout human space. Massive shipyards concealed in Earth's deepest ocean trenches. Research laboratories hollowed into asteroids. Self-sufficient habitats being assembled in dead star systems beyond Council monitoring. The Ganymede facility has doubled production of long-range colony vessels. Cooper continued. By conservative estimates, we can relocate 83% of our population beyond the Exile boundary within 30 years. Well ahead of the Council's deadline. And the rest? Asked Defense Secretary Williams. We'll appear to comply conventionally, Cooper replied. But they'll be our visible face, while our true strength grows in the shadows. Lisa paced the room, her diplomatic instincts warring with practical necessity. I've spent my career building trust with other species. Now I'm systematically destroying that trust. You're preserving humanity's future, Cooper countered flatly. The vote wasn't close, Lisa. They fear us. Fear leads to preemptive action. If we showed all our cards, they'd strike before their arbitrary deadline. Jake Morrison, standing near the window overlooking Washington's monuments, finally spoke. Does this subterfuge undermine who we are as a people? Our integrity has always been our strength in negotiations. Our adaptability is our strength, Cooper corrected. Always has been. From the first time a human picked up a rock as a tool, we adapt, we survive. The president's gaze swept the room. We all share these concerns, but the decision is made. Humanity will appear to submit to exile while secretly preparing for whatever comes next. The Council has declared us outsiders. We'll use that status to our advantage. Across Earth and its colonies, the machinery of deception and preparation turned with increasing momentum. Dr. Amy Stone, head xenobiologist at the Luna Medical Center, compiled comprehensive databases on alien biology and medicine, knowledge that would travel with the Exodus. General Linda Foster oversaw mock evacuations on New Boston, scenarios that doubled as practice for the real operation, while satisfying Council observers. In his office at Mars Security Command, Chief Alex Reed encoded warnings to governors of the furthest human settlements, worlds barely registered in Council records. These remote outposts would become humanity's invisible network, exchanging resources and intelligence beyond galactic oversight. Each night, Lisa returned to her apartment overlooking the rebuilt San Francisco Bay and questioned her part in the deception. She'd watch message recordings from alien colleagues, beings she'd come to respect and even call friends, and compose careful responses that revealed nothing of importance while maintaining the relationships. Jake found himself in a similar position, continuing diplomatic missions while secretly assessing potential sanctuary systems. During a routine inspection tour with Trilaxian observers, he'd smile and point to decommissioned defense platforms, while memorizing stellar coordinates provided by disguised reconnaissance drones. Only Cooper seemed immune to doubt. History won't remember our hesitation, he told Jake during a secure briefing. Only whether we secured humanity's future. And if we become something else in the process, Jake asked. Something that proves the Council right about us? Cooper's expression hardened. Then we'll have learned an important lesson about ourselves. But we'll be alive to learn it. 30 years into humanity's exile, Colonel Ben Hayes stood in the observation dome of the colony ship Freedom's Call, watching the distant stars through polarized glass. Born in space, he had never known Earth except through historical records and his mother's stories. Ambassador Lisa Hayes had raised her son with one foot in humanity's past and one in its uncertain future. The Freedom's Call represented humanity's new paradigm, a self-contained society built along zero-gravity corridors stretching nearly 20 kilometers. Its rotating habitation, rings, simulated planetary gravity, while its central axis housed hydroponic gardens and fusion reactors that could sustain 10,000 people indefinitely. And it was just one of hundreds. Colonel, His executive officer approached with a data tablet. The Ithaca and Diaspora are requesting coordination for the jump to Sector 88. Ben nodded, still watching the stars. Approved. Standard dispersal pattern. He turned to face the younger officer. Any word from Captain Miller's group? Still radio silent as per protocol. They should reach the X7742 coordinates within the week. Ben nodded again, dismissing the officer with a gesture that mirrored his mother's diplomatic mannerisms. The ghost fleets, scout groups operating beyond even the Exile boundary, represented humanity's furthest reach into the unknown. Captain Dan Miller commanded the most distant of these missions, searching for resources, habitable worlds, and intelligence about the wider galaxy that the Council had denied them. In the 30 years since the Exile decree, humanity had transformed itself. The visible human presence had withdrawn exactly as demanded, abandoning developed worlds and established colonies with apparent compliance. Council observers monitored the steadily decreasing human activity with satisfaction. Meanwhile, the true human civilization had gone deep and dark, operating in regions unmapped by galactic charts, developing technologies unrestrained by Council regulations, and evolving cultural identities distinct from Earth's traditions. Ben carried the weight of this dual existence more than most. As Lisa Hayes' son, he had inherited both her diplomatic skills and the burden of deception. His father, a terraforming engineer who had died when Ben was young, had helped design the first self-sustaining habitats. Ben had grown up alongside other exile-born children, raised on stories of a homeworld they might never see, and taught to balance resentment with hope. In the ship's central command hub, Ben reviewed the latest fleet deployments. The human exodus had long since surpassed Cooper's original estimates. 97% of humanity now lived beyond Council awareness, distributed across specialized vessels and hidden outposts. Those who remained in Council space maintained the illusion of a species in controlled decline, trading technological development for security. A priority alert flashed across his console. Miller's reconnaissance fleet had broken communication silence, something they would only do for a discovery of highest importance. Incoming transmission. Quantum encrypted, announced the communications officer. Origin confirmed as Captain Miller's vessel, the Pathfinder. Put it through to my private channel, Ben ordered, moving to the secure communications booth at the rear of the command center. Miller's face appeared on the screen, his expression a mixture of excitement and concern. Hayes, we found something at X7742. Something big. The transmission quality degraded momentarily. Even quantum communications struggled at such distances. We need xenoarchaeologists and linguists, immediately. What exactly are we talking about, Dan? Ruins. Massive ones. Spread across 3 planets in this system. Miller's image shifted as he adjusted his camera to show a structure behind him. A towering spire of some crystalline material that pulsed with internal light, despite apparently being thousands, perhaps millions of years old. And they're active, somehow. Ben's pulse quickened. Any signs of current inhabitants? Negative. Whatever built these has been gone a long time, but they left information. Massive amounts of it. Miller's voice dropped. We activated some kind of holographic interface. It's like a library. Ben, star charts, technological schematics, weapon designs and warnings. Warnings about what? Something called the Devourers. The translation is rough, but the meaning is clear enough. Some kind of threat these builders were fighting. They left this knowledge deliberately, like a time capsule for whoever came after them. Ben processed this information, the implications expanding in his mind. Secure the site. I'll dispatch research teams within 48 hours. And Dan? Complete blackout, I know. If the Council learned about this, they'd either claim it for themselves or destroy it to keep it from us. Ben finished. Neither is acceptable. As preparations began for a major expedition to the X-7742 system, humanity's Exile development continued on other fronts. Engineers Sam Wright and Tony Park oversaw the integration of alien hybrid power cores into the next generation of human vessels, incorporating principles gleaned from Council technology but pushed far beyond their original specifications. The self-repairing hull materials they had developed could withstand radiation and micrometeorite impacts that would shred conventional starships. In hidden laboratories throughout human space, Dr. Ryan Clark directed AI research projects that approached true sentience, work strictly forbidden by Council law, but advancing rapidly without oversight. The ethical debates that had once constrained such development on Earth had evolved into new frameworks emphasizing symbiosis between human and artificial minds. Throughout these years, humanity had not been entirely alone in exile. Other species deemed problematic by the Council, the hive-minded Saruk, the crystalline Tazari, the methane-breathing Volturnus, had established tenuous contact with human outposts. Guided by intelligence from the few humans remaining in Council space, these alliances grew slowly but steadily, united by their outsider status. Within 6 months of Miller's discovery, the ruins at X-7742 had been partially deciphered. The precursor race, which human linguists had dubbed the Architects, had faced extinction approximately 3 million years earlier. Their warnings about the Devourers described a force that consumed entire star systems, not merely destroying them, but somehow removing them from existence entirely. The Architects' records indicated a cyclical pattern to the Devourer appearances, roughly every 3 million years. If accurate, humanity had stumbled upon this knowledge just as another cycle was beginning. "We need to warn the Council," Lisa Hayes argued, during an emergency session of the Exodus Command. Though aged now, she retained her diplomatic intensity. "Whatever our differences, this threat transcends politics." "And how do you propose we do that?" Admiral Cooper, still serving as strategic commander despite his advanced years, countered. "Reveal that we've been systematically deceiving them for decades? That we've developed technologies they specifically banned? They'd consider it a trick at best, an act of war at worst." "The Architects' technology gives us options the Council doesn't have," Ben added. "Their phase-shift weapons, their black hole drive designs. We've already incorporated elements into our newer ships. We're talking about the potential end of all galactic civilization," Lisa insisted. "We can't withhold this information out of spite." "Not spite," Cooper corrected. "Strategy, we prepare first, then warn them with proof they can't dismiss." The debate continued across human space, but preparation took precedence. The designs and theories left by the Architects accelerated human technological development by centuries. Combined with the innovations born from 30 years of unrestricted research, humanity's military and scientific capabilities now far exceeded anything the Council might suspect. And as the humans deliberated, the first signs of the Devourers appeared exactly where the Architect records predicted, at the furthest edge of the galactic rim, beyond even Council monitoring stations. The emergency alert sounded throughout the Vigilance, Flag Admiral Dan Miller's command vessel. As the crew rushed to battle stations, the tactical display showed something that should have been impossible: the complete disappearance of a star system. "Confirmed. Admiral," his science officer reported, voice tight with controlled fear. "The Vega outpost is gone, not destroyed. There's no debris field, no radiation signature. The entire system has simply ceased to exist." Miller, who had discovered the Architect ruins 15 years earlier, felt a cold certainty settle in his stomach. "The Devourers. Sir, We're detecting similar anomalies in sectors 12 and 14. Whatever this is, it's happening in multiple locations simultaneously. Miller activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships to combat readiness. Deploy quantum sensors according to Protocol Architect 7. He turned to his communications officer. Send warning transmissions to all human settlements, and he hesitated only briefly. To Council space, full information package, including Architect records on the Devourer threat. Within hours, the nature of the attack became clearer. Wherever the Devourers appeared, first as distortions in spacetime, then as swarms of crystalline vessels unlike any known design, star systems began to vanish. Not through conventional destruction, but through some process that seemingly removed matter from the universe entirely. The Council's response to humanity's warning was predictably dismissive. "We detect no such threat," came the official reply. "This transparent attempt to manufacture a crisis will not alter the terms of your exile." Only when 3 Council border outposts vanished did the reality of the situation begin to penetrate the bureaucracy. By then, the Devourer advance had accelerated, moving from the rim toward the more densely populated regions of the galaxy. The Council's defensive fleets, impressive in size but technologically stagnant, proved ineffective against the Devourer swarms. Weapons passed through the crystalline ships without impact, while the Devourer's own weapons, beams of absolute darkness that seemed to fold space itself, cut through Council vessels with horrifying efficiency. It was at the Battle of the Outer Rim that humanity revealed its true development. As Devourer ships approached the Procyon system, home to 7 billion Council citizens, a fleet of human dreadnoughts dropped out of hyperspace directly in their path. These vessels bore little resemblance to the ships the Council had known. Sleek and dark, their hulls rippling with energy fields derived from Architect designs. They represented 45 years of unrestrained human innovation, combined with precursor knowledge. Admiral Miller stood on the command deck of the Defiance, the flagship of what humans now called the Guardian Fleet. "All ships, deploy black hole beams on my mark," he ordered. "Target the lead Devourer vessels first. Then implement swarm counter protocols." The weapons that lanced out from the human ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen in 3 million years. Focused singularities that bent light around them, creating streaks of absolute darkness against the stars. Where they struck the Devourer ships, space itself seemed to fold inward, collapsing the crystalline vessels into infinitesimal points before they winked out of existence. Smaller human craft deployed in formations, guided by distributed AI networks, another technology forbidden by Council law but perfected in Exile. These squadrons moved with impossible coordination, anticipating Devourer maneuvers and countering them before they fully developed. The Council observation vessels, maintaining safe distance from the battle, recorded everything with increasing astonishment. When the engagement ended 2 hours later, the Devourer advance had been halted with 0 human casualties, a result that would have been inconceivable with Council military doctrine. The Architects were right, Miller told his officers as the fleet regrouped. The Devourers can be beaten with the right technology, but this was just their advance force. Their command vessel is still out there, and until it's destroyed, they'll keep coming. The intelligence gathered during the battle confirmed the Architect records. The Devourers operated as a collective controlled by a central entity, a massive ship located somewhere near the galactic core. This command vessel generated the space-time distortions that allowed the Devourer swarms to remove matter from existence. With the immediate threat contained, Miller opened communications with the Council. The message he received in return was from Chancellor Crix, son of the Xerax who had decreed humanity's exile half a century earlier. "The Council requests immediate consultation regarding the Devourer threat," the young Chancellor stated, his formal tone barely concealing urgent fear. Your intervention at Procyon has demonstrated capabilities unknown to us. We require your assistance." Miller allowed himself a grim smile. "Inform the Chancellor we'll dispatch representatives immediately, but our primary focus must remain on locating and neutralizing the Devourer command vessel." The Guardian fleet's push toward the galactic core began within days. Leading the charge was a special task force, commanded by Colonel Ben Hayes, whose Freedom's Call had been retrofitted with the most advanced weapons in humanity's arsenal. As the fleet navigated the densely packed star systems of the inner galaxy, they encountered both fleeing Council ships and advancing Devourer swarms. Each engagement refined human tactics, but the losses began to mount. The closer they came to the core, the more powerful the Devourer presence became. The final assault took place in the shadow of the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center. There, orbiting at a distance that defied conventional physics, hung the Devourer command ship, a structure of impossible angles and shifting dimensions that hurt the human mind to observe directly. "All ships, execute final approach," Hayes ordered from the Freedom's Call. "Architect Protocol 9 is in effect." The human fleet split into 3 battle groups. The first engaged the defensive swarms, creating a corridor for the second group to approach the command vessel with specialized disruption devices. The third group, led by Hayes himself, prepared to deliver the final strike, a concentrated black hole beam powered by the combined energy of 50 ships, guided by the most advanced AI systems humans had ever created. The battle raged across an area larger than an entire star system. Council vessels, belatedly arriving to assist, found themselves relegated to evacuation duties as the human ships executed maneuvers that their pilots couldn't follow, let alone replicate. "Disruption field at 80%, reported Hayes' tactical officer. "The command vessel's defenses are weakening." "Deploy the Architect weapon," Hayes commanded. "All supporting ships, maintain position regardless of counterattack." From the combined human fleet, a single, focused beam of absolute darkness lanced toward the Devourer command vessel. Where it struck, reality itself seemed to bend and fold. The command ship, massive beyond comprehension, began to collapse inward upon itself like paper crumpling in an invisible hand. The effect cascaded outward, throughout the galaxy. Devourer swarms froze in mid-attack, then imploded into points of light that quickly faded. The command vessel, now reduced to a singularity smaller than an atom, vanished in a flash of radiation that briefly outshone the galactic core itself. In the sudden silence that followed, Hayes opened a channel to all ships, human and Council alike. "The Devourer threat has been neutralized. Repeat, the Devourers have been eliminated. All vessels report status and begin recovery operations." The cost had been high. Nearly 30% of the human fleet lay in ruins, their sacrifice ensuring the survival of countless species who would never know their names. But for the first time in 50 years, humanity stood revealed in its true strength, not as exiles, but as protectors. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council looked much as it had half a century earlier, when humanity received its exile decree. The same ancient architecture soared overhead, the same glowing sigils pulsed along the curved walls. But the atmosphere could not have been more different. Jake Morrison, now 83 Earth years old, walked slowly to the central platform. His captain's uniform had long since been replaced by the simple gray garments, adopted by many in the Exodus communities, adorned only with a small insignia representing Earth and its colonies. Chancellor Crix stood to receive him, all 4 hands extended in the ceremonial gesture of highest respect, a gesture rarely offered to any species, let alone humans. "Captain Morrison," the Chancellor began, using Jake's original title rather than the Admiral's rank he had earned during the exile years. We welcome you back to this chamber not as a supplicant, but as a savior." Jake nodded, his weathered face betraying little emotion. Behind him stood Ben Hayes and a delegation of humans born in exile, representatives of a generation that had never known life under Council rule. "The Council has voted," Crix continued, "by unanimous decision, the first in our 7,000-year history. Humanity's exile is not merely revoked, but expunged from our records. Furthermore, Earth and its colonies are granted the status of guardians of galactic space, with all rights and autonomies such designation entails." Murmurs of approval rippled through the assembled delegates, many of whom represented worlds that would have been lost without human intervention. Jake stepped forward to the speaking position. For a moment, he simply looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of alien representatives who had once voted to cast his species into the void. "Chancellor, honored delegates," he began, his voice strong despite his years. 50 years ago, I stood in this spot and heard my people condemned as dangerous, unpredictable, too quick to advance. Today I will not say you were wrong." A hush fell over the assembly. "We are dangerous when threatened. We are unpredictable when solving problems. We advance quickly because we must. It is our nature." Jake paused. "But what you failed to understand then, and what I hope is clear now, is that these traits are not flaws to be feared, but assets to be valued." He gestured to the humans behind him. "These are children of exile, born beyond your boundaries, raised without your constraints. They represent humanity unbound. And yet, when the moment came to choose between vengeance and protection, they did not hesitate. They fought not just for human worlds, but for all worlds." Chancellor Crix nodded solemnly. "The Council acknowledges its error in judgment. We ask not merely forgiveness, but partnership. The knowledge your people recovered from the Architect ruins, combined with your own innovations, represents the dawn of a new era for all species." "We offer both," Jake replied. "But we cannot return to the old order. Humanity has changed. We have established communities beyond the former exile boundary that will remain independent. We have technologies we will share selectively, with appropriate safeguards. And we have alliances with other exiled species that we will not abandon." "These terms are acceptable," Crix said, with a formality that suggested the details had been negotiated extensively beforehand. "The Council recognizes the sovereignty of human settlements and acknowledges humanity's right to maintain its technological advantages, with the understanding that such advantages will be used for mutual defense and benefit." Jake turned to Ben Hayes, passing him a small data crystal. Ben stepped forward and placed it on the Council's central repository. "This contains complete information on the Devourer threat, including Architect records suggesting they may return in another 3 million years. Ben explained. "It also includes designs for early warning systems that all species can implement. The time for secrets between us is over." The formal session concluded with the signing of the New Concord, a treaty establishing humanity's unique position within galactic society. As the delegates dispersed to their various worlds, Jake found himself standing at the same window where he had contemplated humanity's future 50 years earlier. Lisa Hayes joined him there, leaning on the hover support that had replaced her cane. "Not quite how we imagined it back then," she said quietly. Jake smiled. "Better in some ways, worse in others." Cooper would have enjoyed the vindication. "And been suspicious of the reconciliation?" Lisa added, remembering their old colleague who had died a decade earlier. Beyond the Council windows, ships from dozens of species moved through designated flight paths, and among them, the distinctive silhouettes of human vessels, no longer hiding their advanced designs. On 1,000 worlds, the work of rebuilding had begun. Human engineers worked alongside Council specialists to restore planets damaged during the Devourer attacks. Stations once abandoned during the Exile were recommissioned as joint research facilities. The architect technology, combined with human innovation and council resources, promised an era of advancement beyond anything previously imagined. In orbit around Earth, visited now by alien dignitaries with genuine respect, rather than suspicious monitoring, the Remembrance prepared for its maiden voyage. The massive vessel, larger than any previously constructed by human hands, would carry representatives from all council species on a mission of exploration beyond the galaxy's edge. Its commander, Captain Eliza Cooper, granddaughter of the Admiral who had orchestrated humanity's shadow exodus, stood on the observation deck watching shuttles arrive with the last of her crew. Among them were humans born in exile, council specialists eager to learn, and even members of formerly exiled species now welcomed back into the galactic community. "Captain," her executive officer approached, "all personnel are aboard. We await only your command." Eliza nodded, her gaze still fixed on the blue-white planet below, the homeworld her grandmother had described, but she had never walked upon until this mission. "Send the final message to Earth Control," she said, "and plot course for the Magellanic Bridge. It's time we all ventured into the unknown, together." As the Remembrance accelerated away from Earth, its powerful engines leaving a trail of light visible from the surface, Jake Morrison watched from the Council's diplomatic residence in Geneva. The old spacer felt a sense of completion that had eluded him for decades. "We didn't just survive exile," he murmured to himself. "We transcended it." In the depths of space, where human ingenuity had hidden and flourished during the long years of banishment, the lights of 1,000 ships and stations gleamed like new stars, not in defiance of the galaxy that had rejected them, but as beacons illuminating a future where ancient fears gave way to hard-won unity. Humanity had not waited to be told twice. They had taken exile and transformed it into salvation, not just for themselves, but for all.